Is the makeup a little much? I can't help but feel like the makeup is a little much. I should probably go take this off. I just do not have the cheekbones to pull this off, man. Heyo people, and welcome to this review of Halsey's third full-length album, Manic. Like every record I've reviewed over the past few days has been the third full-length release from an artist. That's a weird coincidence, isn't it? But yeah, Halsey. Back when I was the rock critic, something like this would be way out of my jurisdiction. But I'm still not unfamiliar with Halsey's work. I've heard her in passing in a few places here and there, and like, can I be real? I've just never liked anything I've heard out of her previously. Most of what I heard was either just boring and inoffensive or like straight up annoying. But since the rebrand, I've been doing my best to breach outside of my rockier, heavier comfort zone. So when this dropped last Friday, I figured, okay, let's give it a shot. To be honest, I really wasn't expecting too much from this album. I figured it'd either be like too annoying or too boring for me to cover in any real detail. Wow, was I wrong about that? Holy shit. You'll have to forgive me, this is my first full sit with a Halsey record, and I couldn't have picked a more contentious time to jump on, frankly, because according to what I've seen, this album is not like anything else she's ever recorded. Forgive me if this is kind of a pleb's eye view of her catalog, but all that having been said, this record surprised the shit out of me. Halsey took a very different approach on this record. Compared to the rest of her catalog, at least, a lot of the stuff I've heard her on, you know, her collabs, stuff like The Chainsmokers, 30 Seconds to Mars, etc. Oh, that stuff just left a terrible first impression. So much of the other stuff I've heard from her is just oversaturated, meaningless modern pop bullshit. Stuff that's oversoaked in Imagine Dragons style synths, trap, snare, percussions, and the like, and lyrics that just, I don't know, they felt so inane, they may as well have been saying nothing. Writing this review just reminded me that America exists, so, you know, ick. And that's kind of what I was expecting out of this record. I think it's what a lot of other people were probably expecting. Even Halsey herself, though, I'd like to think, understood that that was what a lot of people were expecting out of her, too, though. At least that's what I've taken from like the interviews and the other research I did on the background of this album. And in a bold move, she decided to completely 180 that perception and release something that's basically the opposite of all that. This album uses a lot more natural instrumentation, more natural guitars, pianos, bass, drums. The synthetic elements here are much more understated and serve as accentuation to the melodies rather than driving forces. Hell, in songs like Graveyard, You Should Be Sad, and 929, the guitar work, while not like overly complicated or anything, is beautifully serene and melancholic. The record feels very organic for a modern pop record, especially considering, you know, it's coming from Halsey, of all people. And while the production isn't perfect or anything, there's still just a little too much gloss in this thing overall, at least for like the tone and aesthetic it's going for. It's still 1,000 times better than the record I was preparing myself for. Again, people, it's Halsey. I was bracing for much worse. This is a surprisingly beautiful sounding record. It's more raw and unfiltered than I could have initially foreseen. And that goes for both the music and the lyrics as well, because, okay, wow, here's a sentence I'll bet you never thought you'd hear me say. This Halsey record kind of spoke to me. In lieu of doing her usual thing, i.e. writing a concept record or like steeping her lyrics in like narrative subtext, Halsey just decided instead to knuckle down and open up and just write an album about herself as a human being, this record is deeply personal, honest, and open about the real-life struggles that she has as both an artist and as a person, and like, goddamn, it really works! Halsey speaks very candidly about her struggles as a manic depressive, particularly in tracks like I Hate Everybody and 3 AM, and man, I'm not manic depressive myself, but holy shit, do I understand the feelings she was laying down on those tracks. As someone who has, and still does sometimes, struggle with other people's perceptions and, linking them to your own self-worth in an unhealthy manner, as well as those feelings that do come up when you want to talk to someone, anyone, just about anything at all, just so you don't have to be alone, because when you're alone, your own thoughts will torture you because your idiot fucking broken brain is gonna use that time to lock you in your own self-inflicted torture chamber and just fucking pummel you to death with your own misgivings. Like, fuck, man. Not to be cliche, but that's a mood. On You Should Be Sad, she goes into real and fairly graphic detail about a past relationship that completely fell apart due to the guy she was dating being a self-centered asshat. Fuck, I've been in relationships like that. I know what that's like. In a past life, I may have even been one of those self-centered asshats. And on Finally Beautiful Stranger, we have this simplistic but still really touching little love song. Nothing that reinvents the wheel or anything, it's just kind of a nice little wedding song, almost. But apparently this is Halsey's first major crack at something like that, and she's pretty good at it. Like, really good. This record feels like it was a big risk to take. At least for Halsey, it sounds like it was a personal risk. Again, in interview materials that I read up on, she sounded like she wasn't so sure about the idea. She wasn't sure if people would be cool with her opening up and sharing as much of herself on a record like this. It seemed like something she was hesitant to do. But I don't know if I can offer some feedback for whatever it might be worth. Halsey, this worked. This worked really well. Like, this is the Halsey I want to be hearing from. This is the Halsey that seems interesting and human and thoughtful and worth getting to know. The other Halsey stuff I've heard, it's saturated in gimmicks and overblown ideas and concepts that don't really go anywhere. It's so typical of the pop industry, but this particular version of Halsey, at least, this small little glimpse of a more human side to her music, I don't know, this is someone I wouldn't mind getting to know more of. This record, feels like a person wrote it, like an actual human being wrote it, and not a team of fucking executives in a boardroom somewhere trying to get me to sign up for another damn subscription service. Fuck off! The record is by no means perfect. Again, the production feels like a little much for a project that's, going for this kind of raw, personal touch. And some of the vocal harmonies in particular aren't necessarily stellar either. Halsey's not the greatest pop vocalist out there, and particularly on a song like Clementine, all the additional layering and the spoken wordish stuff that's on that track, it gets a little grating. And additionally, some of the feature songs on this album do feel a bit tacked on. The Alanis Morissette one is actually really cool. It's a kick-ass little assertion of queer girl identity and self-ownership. The other ones though, the one from BTS member Suga? Is it Suga? It looks like it shouldn't be Suga. And the one featuring Dominic Fike. Again, not bad by any means. They're not terrible tracks. They just, again, they feel tacked on. They feel a little unnecessary. Compared to what the rest of the album is, it feels like they don't need to be here. The album does have flaws, and given that some people have been saying that Halsey's been on a downturn period in her career as a pop megastar, at least that's what I've heard from other people who follow her closely. Again, I don't know if this is the kind of record that can overturn that perception of her, for whatever that may be worth to you. If you care about that, I don't know if this is the record that saves her career, but just on its own, as a record, as a piece of music from an artist showing us a true piece of herself for what might be the first time, I have to respect that. I mean, take it for whatever it may be worth coming out of me, I know, but man, I came into this record thinking I would hate it, but instead, it genuinely ended up winning me over with its sincerity and its openness. Any record that can shatter your expectations like that, especially when walking in with such low expectations, that's worth something. Manic gets 4 broken assumptions out of 5. What did you think? Did this record surprise you like it surprised me, or were you just not feeling the vibe Halsey was laying down here? Feel free to let me know in the comments. If you like this video, feel free to hit the subscribe button and be sure to ring the bell while you're at it. And until then, I've been Crash Thompson, and I will see you in the next video.
Super special thanks to May Madison, I Love Metal,